Welcome to the channel, everyone, and this is Let's Play MTG. And here on this channel, we will abilities twice, use Electrostatic Plumber, and so you don't necessarily need to have. What's going on, everybody? This is Anthony Lee with Let's Play MTG, and today we're going to talk about cheating out creature spells. Now, cheating out creature spells is really referring to putting creatures into play without paying their mana cost. Typically, also, not even really referring to casting most of the time. So, let's go ahead and get right on into it. And let's look at our first card for cheating out creatures, and it is In Search of Greatness. In Search of Greatness is an enchantment that costs 2 green, and it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, scry 1. So this one is referring to paying without mana cost. So if you have a creature that costs 3 and 2 green, so converted mana cost is 5, and you have something on the battlefield that has mana cost 4, you can be able to play it during your upkeep for free. Alright, so the next card we're going to look at is Descendants Path. Descendants Path is an enchantment that costs 2 and a green. It says, at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card that shares a creature type with a creature you control, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, put that card on the bottom of your library. So Descendants Path, you want to make sure that you have a creature that shares a creature type on the battlefield already with what you're going to reveal off the top of your library. So let's just say you're running elves. You want to make sure that you have an elf already on the field before you flip over the top card and it's an elf, so you can go ahead and put it on the battlefield. But if you don't have any creatures at all, or let's just say you have like a druid shaman or something like that, and you reveal an elf, it automatically has to go to the bottom. Or if you have no creatures at all, you get to look at the card, but it has to go directly to the bottom, because it obviously can't share a creature type with a creature on the battlefield if you don't have any creatures. Alright, so going on to the next one is Court of Bounty. Court of Bounty is an enchantment, costs 2 and 2 green. It says, whenever Court of Bounty enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. So the monarch is referring to at the beginning of your end step. As long as you're the monarch, you're able to draw a card. So that is a nice addition to this card, outside of being able to cheat creatures into play. So the rest of it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So you do not need to be the monarch in order to do this. Now, if you are the monarch, though, instead you may put a creature card or a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is where we can actually be able to utilize being the monarch with also being able to get our creatures out. Now, typically, a good reason why to cheat creatures out is if you're a really big creature heavy deck, you want to be able to throw out those really big threats pretty early on. For 2 and 2 green, possibly turn 2 get this out, maybe a turn 3 depending on if you have mana ramp, but you are running green, so mana ramp pretty much is implied in a deck for the most part. Not always, but for the most part. So to be able to ramp with it, regardless if you're the monarch, or be able to just bam, here's a big creature, or here's some kind of creature during your upkeep, is quite helpful. Next up, we have Aid from the Cowl. Aid from the Cowl is an enchantment. It is cost 3 and 2 green. It has Revolt. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, you may put it onto the battlefield, otherwise put it on the bottom of your library. If it's a permanent, so if someone destroyed a land, an artifact, enchantment, a token, a creature, just anything that's considered a permanent, even a planeswalker, you're able to have this effect go off, and that, yes, it can get lands and other things like that, but for the purposes of this video, is it allows us to get a creature, which is great for creature-based decks, to be able to put a creature onto the battlefield for free. You don't really whiff on the card if it's a land or a planeswalker or anything else like that. You can still play those, so it does have some versatility, but you are able to cheat your creatures into play. Next, we want to look at Lurking Predators. Lurking Predators is an enchantment, 4 and 2 green, so a little on the higher side. It says, whenever an opponent casts a spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, you may put that card on the bottom of your library. So, this is like a Mana Gorger Hydra, where you are just waiting to cycle go around the table. Anytime anybody plays a spell, you look at the top card of your library, and if it's a creature, put it straight into play. So, really powerful for creature decks. And if it's not, you can put it on the bottom of the library, so the next time a player casts a spell, you get to repeat the process. So, by the time it goes full circle in Commander, you would be able to potentially get several creatures out, depending on what cards you look at the top of your deck. Next card we're going to look at is going to be Wild Pear. Wild Pear is an enchantment for 4 and 2 green, so same converted mana cost and same mana cost period as Lurking Predators. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, you may search your library for a creature with the same total power and toughness and put it onto the battlefield. If you do, shuffle your library. So if you play a 3/3, its total converted mana cost is 6. So if I have a 2/4 creature, I can search my library. As long as I cast a 3/3 creature, I can search my library for a 2/4 creature, a 3/1 creature, a 1/3 creature, as long as when you add the power and toughness to the creature that you cast up, for both what you cast and what you search for, as long as they are identical, then you're able to play that card from your library for free. Alright, so let's go ahead and go on to the next one. The next one is Call of the Wild. Call of the Wild is an enchantment, costs 2 and 2 green, and it has, for paying 2 and 2 green, so basically repeating its casting cost, reveal the top card of your library. If it is a creature card, put it into play, otherwise put it into your graveyard. So this card can actually be really, really powerful in an Aristocrats deck where you really want to have a lot of stuff go into your graveyard. So whether you're sacrificing creatures, putting it from your library straight to the graveyard, it can be beneficial. But this one really helps you be able to, if it's not a creature card, goes in the graveyard, that's okay, because then it also then increases your chances of being able to get that creature to put it directly into play. So it is multifaceted on really what you can do with it, but this card I personally kind of put out of the decks because I'm a real creature heavy deck and I don't have a lot of graveyard recursion in the style that I kind of play. But this one I do think is a good card that would fit in a variety of different types of decks, especially ones with heavy graveyard and reanimate kind of effects in their deck. Alright. Now let's go ahead and go to the next one. This one is a creature. It's an older creature that's been reprinted just a few times. And I don't think there's enough love for this creature because I really do think that this creature's pretty phenomenal. And I would love to see Seymour play. Obviously, it's not any kind of CEDH level or anything, but it definitely fits for your casual commander. And this is Elvish Piper. It is an elf shaman that costs 3 and a green. It's a 1/1. For a green and tap, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So a lot of these that say it's not casting without paying its mana cost, when it just says put into play, unless that ability is being countered, unless even if it's a triggered ability, unless any of these abilities are somehow being countered that don't say cast without paying mana cost, but just put it into play, they can't be countered unless the ability itself is being countered to put that creature into play. So this actually works really good if you're playing against blue, which really likes to counter things. So yeah, this card's pretty strong. Basically, any creature that you have, regardless of its converted mana cost, just costs you a green. So that will definitely help be able to use your other mana that you have for other spells that you want to play. And then lastly, we have Mosswort Bridge. Mosswort Bridge is a land. So Mosswort Bridge has Hideaway. Hideaway, this land enters the battlefield tapped. When it does, look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, and then put the rest on the bottom end of your library. So typically what people do is when they exile it, they just put it directly under the Mosswort Bridge or whatever they're exiling, so they remember that it's specifically being exiled by a Mosswort Bridge. Because not only does Mosswort Bridge just tap to add green, but you can pay a green and tap it, and you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if creatures you control have total power 10 or greater. So even if it's a land that you put under there, or an enchantment, or a planeswalker, you're still playing the card and then doing whatever requires, like if it's an enchant creature kind of thing, you can still go ahead and put that onto the creature. But in this case, we really want to refer to being able to play a creature for free. So being able to play a creature for free is definitely great with just a simple land, and kind of with the Elvish Piper cost, be able to just a green and tap, even though you do need to have creatures with total power 10 or greater, which if you're a tokens deck, if you are more of like a stompy deck, should be pretty easy to be able to meet the criteria to be able to play that card. Alright, I definitely hope that you enjoyed this video. Definitely be sure to go ahead and leave a thumbs up and go ahead and write down a comment below of what you think of this video. And be sure to definitely subscribe to this channel and share with all your friends on your social media. And always, have a great day. And definitely be sure to check out this video and others on my channel and hit that subscribe button right there in the corner if you haven't already.